Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Travel and Tourism Podcast, my first season. My guest today worked for Club Med from 2016 to 2020. His first season was in Club Med Sandpiper in 2016 as a Landsports Supervisor. During his tenure at Club Med, he also held sports and animation manager and assistant chef de village positions. Before Club Med, he was a Division I varsity men's tennis team player and team captain at the Kelley School of Business at Indiana University, where he graduated summa cum laude with a degree in management and international business, and he has almost completed his master's degree from Northwestern University. Please help me welcome from Cincinnati, but now living in Chicago, Adam Reinhart. Hey, Adam, how are you?
I'm doing great, Greg. How are you doing?
I am well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I think we should shout out who put us together, right? Like off the bat, before I forget, because you came highly recommended from someone, right?
That would be great. Yeah.
Okay, and would you mind telling us who the person is?
Yeah, sure. So shout out to Sarah Pastor.
Yes, thank you, Sarah. Sarah sang your praises. We are here today. Thank you for being here again and agreeing to share your story with us. Thanks so much, Adam.
Yeah, I'm really excited to chat.
All right. So let's take it back first because I do want to talk about all that university business. So you were a GM around 10 years old, right? When you started going to Club Med?
Yeah, I 10 years old. I was the first village was Club Med Sandpiper Bay. We went as a family and I fell in love from the very first time.
And do you recall where you went? Like what villages you might have
Yeah,
went
yeah.
to?
So as a GM, so it ended up being we stayed in North America, mostly in the village we visited the most was Cancun, but we also did Sandpiper, Punta Cana, and Turks and Caicos once my youngest brother was 18. But it was something it became our almost annual family trip the week before Christmas. And it was something just because we're an active family. My parents actually went on their honeymoon to Paradise Island before it closed down. And so once kids were old enough to be active, they immediately took us, put us in the kids club and we loved it. And so every year we were just always dying to go back. And especially me, I was the one that would be the one in tears when we were leaving every year.
And since we said in the intro that you played tennis at the Kelley School of Business, you actually connected with a tennis geo there. Like you remember a certain tennis geo, right?
It was Jose Luis, who's now a chef de village, and I met him when it was maybe his second or third season as a tennis geo in Cancun. And I mean, he's amazing. If you've met him or if he's listening, I could sing his praises. But he was just so kind, friendly, welcoming, and just stayed in touch with him. And he's a big reason why I'm here today having this conversation and had 4.5 amazing years with Club Med.
Roughly what age were you when you started playing tennis?
So I started playing tennis. I was around 6 years old. And so my mom was a huge tennis fan. And so I started playing and I was okay through my teen years, but I got really good when I was 14, 15. And that's when I started getting recruited for universities and was fortunate to play 4 years in college.
Yes, so you played Division One. For our Canadian listeners who might not, and myself, because I think the
Yeah.
universities are different. What does Division One mean?
So Division One, so there's three tiers of divisions within the college sports realm, with Division One being the highest level of competition, then Division Two, then Division Three. There's variability between them, but generally that's how it breaks down. And so I would say I was playing in the middle of that top tier.
Okay, and in your division, was there a top school that was hard to beat?
We didn't play some of these schools, but you're thinking of the biggest universities in the US, like Ohio State University, Virginia, there's University of Southern California, UCLA. Any big name school that you've heard of that does well in sports is probably a team that was the best in tennis when I was there too.
And so when you finish your degree, were you planning on applying to Club Med or was that the plan the whole time or what
Yeah,
happened
so
there?
my parents had said I should do it since I was a kid, as a year or two to try it, travel, meet, have amazing experiences out of school. And when I was in school, I was just became every year that we went, I was like, I want to do this, I want to do this. And so it was something I knew I wanted to do by the time I was getting to my last year of university. And it's actually part of the reason when I was in university, I was studying Spanish, but then I started learning French on my own with Rosetta Stone just because I wanted, because I was so sure that I wanted to work as a geo in Club Med when I was done with school.
Okay. And how did you apply?
So Jose Luis and another one, Mike Clark, he was who I had met a few years prior, connected me with Dawn Glazer, who was a recruiter. May her memory be a blessing. Unfortunately, she passed away a couple of years back. But they connected me with her, and we had a great conversation, and that's how she got me set up with the whole interview process. And then it was the waiting game to figure out where I was going, and I only found out. I think I found out like a week before I actually ended up going to Sandpiper.
And ironically, I think the right usage of the word ironically, you didn't become a tennis geo, you're a Landsports supervisor, because there are tennis geos whose, I guess, level maybe not have been up to snuff back in the old days. And, so I find it really funny that here we have a Division I player, team captain, and he doesn't become a tennis geo. Is that ironic or funny, or what's the
Yeah,
word
I
for this?
think and when I was going through the process and talking with Dawn had mentioned that it was even though Sandpiper at the time didn't have tennis, she was like, "There's a good chance you're going to end up as a tennis geo somewhere." Whether it was
Wait,
and
excuse me, Adam. Sorry, did you just say when you were there, there wasn't tennis at Sandpiper?
there weren't tennis geos.
There were not.
So there was a tennis academy.
Oh, okay, 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 okay. So it was
Yeah, so
outsourced,
they
you
had
mean?
at that point, Sandpiper had partnered with the sports academies to have a junior tennis academy,
Okay,
and so there weren't tennis geos.
okay, got it. Sorry. So it's kind of like how the scuba diving at Columbus, Isle was outsourced, right? They're not scuba
Yeah,
geos
kind of.
anymore. Okay, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. A lot just
That's okay,
changed,
no worries.
I guess, since I left in 2005. Okay, sorry about that.
And so she had just said, yeah, so we're just waiting to see where you're and I knew in February of 2016 I was going to get a position and then I started in May. So it was like I knew I was going to be somewhere. I just didn't know doing what. And then it was waiting and waiting and then it got to the point where Don called me and was like, "Hey, they want to offer you the Landsports Supervisor position in Sandpiper because you're American and they need someone to fill that role." And I was like, "Sure, let's do it."
And I assume that because you played tennis, you were familiar with all the other sports.
Yeah, so I had been, I mean, I've been a sports crazy guy since I was a kid. So I'd played all the sports and I'd done enough with organizing and that they felt comfortable enough, I think, to put me as a land sports supervisor and learn that way. So managing things like the aqua gym and fitness and the sports tournaments that happened on a daily basis.
And being a lifelong GM, is it different when you arrive for your first season there at Sandpiper
Oh my
as a
God.
Geo?
So I think there's the first, you're so excited at first that is, I felt like I was willing to do anything. And there's definitely a difference of how much work goes into it. But I had always paid it so much attention and talked to the geos and really tried to get a sense of what it was like. And I think having been a Division I athlete, my schedule was so busy and I was doing things 10, 12 hours a day that becoming a GO was like, oh, I don't have to do school on top of just getting to run around and be with people all day. This is easy.
Well, yeah, and it's like they're basically paying you to play sports, right?
Yes, seriously. I was getting paid to have fun, which for me was no problem at all.
And how was the dancing? Were you pretty good at dancing? They put you in the shows right away?
I wanted to be in the shows right away. I think the dancing took some time. I thankfully had, when I was growing up, I had done choir and I had done some like show choir where I'd done some song and dance. So I had basic rhythm, but I definitely think I think by the end, I was a better dancer than when I started. Let's just leave it at that.
Well, this isn't on the resume you sent me. Was there an a cappella group at this Kelley School of Business that you were a member of, or no? It doesn't say anything. So
Thankfully for
okay,
everybody, there wasn't.
okay,
So,
all right. So maybe a little pitch imperfect, right? Is what you're saying?
yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
okay, all
That's a
right,
very,
good.
that's it. And that's still even being generous.
Okay. So what do you remember about your first season? I see Eduardo Rojas. Also, my first season guest was your chef de village, correct?
Yeah, so and it was funny because he had been chef de village in Cancun one or two times when I had been there. I remember just it's kind of some of it is a blur because it went so fast, but I just remember having so much fun and at some points maybe too much fun, as is probably pretty common, but it was really some of the best memories were just when you're hanging out with the other GOs and making those lifelong friends. Like Sarah was one who I met that first season, another one who's one of my closest friends still to this day, Jamel Anthony. And just making those bonds with all the people around you with the team was really, really special.
Did you stay a full year at Sandpiper?
Yeah, so I stayed a full year. So the
Okay.
second season that I was there in the winter, we that season we hit it out of the park in terms of our scores and results. And I was actually promoted to the sports manager at that point, where I was kind of doing a quasi stage because there was a former chef de village named Lionel Pirot who was there to help me and really guide me and teach me. And I was really fortunate to have that experience, both because we did well as a team, but also to learn.
And that second half of your season was with Karim Fajer as chief of
Yeah,
village.
Kareem Faj, he started, I think he started at the end of that like August or September of 2016.
What's it like going from Landsports Supervisor to sports manager in such a short time?
I've definitely felt it was a challenge was I would because when you're a supervisor, I became really good friends and just peers with people that I now was having to manage. So there's a definite challenge there. And also being so young, like I was 23 or 24 and managing people and partially an entire team that was older than me. And so just navigating that and learning. And thankfully, everyone gave me a lot of grace that that learning experience was a challenge, but very helpful. And also just figuring things out of hey, you don't have to do everything yourself. Is you have a team, people want to help, people want to get involved. And so, how do you, as a manager, how do you make sure you develop your team while also building your own brand?
What did you have several nationalities on your team, or are they
We
mostly
didn't
North
have too many
American?
because in Sandpiper was very American because of the challenge of getting visas. At least I didn't manage many nationalities. I might have had one or two, but outside of Americans who might have had dual nationality, but it was interesting working, having our assistant chef de village who was French, Kareem is Moroccan. So just learning, navigating those cultural differences and improving my French. That made it, that was also a great learning experience because Lionel was also French. Even though, I mean, he spoke perfect English, but he had the classic French zip. I'm Lionel from France. And I speak perfect English with the accent, but so that was fun navigating that too.
That was very good.
I had a lot of practice.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Now, was it your idea to go to Turks after this, or was it
No,
just
so I was
they
supposed to
needed
go
you
to
there?
China.
Oh, really?
I was so they needed me, and I was supposed to go to a village called Sanya in China in the South China Sea. And because I said consistently, I want to travel, I want to travel, I want to travel. And there's an opportunity as sports manager in this Chinese village. The visa process was crazy. Like I was getting asked, I had to, I think they took like 12 vials of blood at one point when I was doing a physical to get checked for psychosis and tuberculosis and polio and half these diseases I didn't even know still existed.
Oh,
But the
really?
visa process was taking so long. Eventually, they said, we're not going to send you to China. We actually need a sports manager in Turks. And I was at home. So I was like, heck yeah, like I'm getting bored. Let me send me
Oh,
somewhere.
that's interesting. When I worked in Australia, all they wanted was an X-ray of my chest for tuberculosis. But you're saying they took like blood
Oh my.
samples and everything? Really?
Yeah, they did everything.
Oh,
I genuinely think, and I'm not exaggerating, there was 7 or 8 vials of blood
oh,
that
wow.
they took
Okay.
for all of these checks. And
Oh, I
then
didn't know
I
that.
mean, we could do a whole podcast on
Okay.
the process of going through to get a Chinese visa work visa. You have to send it to some your passport to somebody who then sends it to the embassy for you. Then you get the stamp, and then you have to send it to the U.S. embassy, and then you have to go in per. It was nuts.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So yeah, I guess a lot easier to go to Turks, right?
Yeah, the visa process
Hello.
there is, do you have sunscreen? Yes. All right, great. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you do you mind not having kids around? Okay, sure. Okay.
Yeah, I think I can do that.
Yeah. So what's it like when you get to Turks? I guess were you? Did you go as a GM at all, or no? You couldn't, right?
I
Because
had
it's
been as a
18 or no.
GM.
Oh, you had? Oh yeah, because you were 18 when you went, I guess.
Exactly. I'd been
Okay.
twice.
Oh wow. Okay. So I guess you liked it like everyone else does, right?
Yeah, I mean it's paradise. It's when you're a GM, the beach is incredible and just the atmosphere. There's so few instances in life where you get to be around just adults who want to be social and active, and I ate that up. And then being there as a GO not only was a fun experience, but again, a great opportunity to do something a little different and learn from some great people like Francis Lacoste and Jeff Haggerty, who are some now both chief of villages, but really great teachers for me.
And I guess the nightlife's different. The clientele. Did you still have a? Is there still a JFK charter that goes to Turks?
I mean, the clientele is very, you have the Quebec, Toronto, New York. I don't think there was a charter necessarily, but there were more flights than in the past. So it
Okay.
was it was a mix of North Americans. You started to get a little bit of Europeans, but still predominantly North American.
And was JoJo around in 2017?
JoJo was around. I didn't get
Oh,
out much on the snorkeling boat. I was never a big water person because I get seasick. So I always say I'm a land mammal because I like to keep 2 feet on the ground, both trapeze and the sea. But JoJo was around.
okay. So you did do trapeze or you didn't?
No, I only did trapeze when I was in the show for like the comedy bit, or I was later in my career, people were adamant that I needed to do it, or I lost a bet or something, and then I would do it there.
Okay. By this time, I guess being a sports manager, you're pretty comfortable on the mic now, right?
Yes, I love the mic. I've always been someone that's felt comfortable speaking in front of people. I did well in public speaking competition in university. So getting and having seen so many different people on the mic throughout my years, it made it a lot easier getting up on the mic and learning quickly. So at that point, I would eat up any opportunity I could to be on the mic.
Did you have a catchphrase or anything? Like if I were to hand you a mic right now, like if are you like trying to get people a dance floor, would you or did you have like a routine all worked out?
Oh man, I was just super energetic. I don't know if you can tell through just this conversation,
I can.
but lively energy and lively. I was the one that was like, "Oh my God, is this guy on something?" And I'm like, "Nope, there's people. Let's go." So I think that was more my MO.
Okay.
And I didn't really have a catchphrase. I would call myself a Frankenstein of just taking little bits and pieces from all the different MCs that I had seen over the years. But I don't know if there was any, and maybe when people hear this, they'll tell me, no, you definitely had a catchphrase, but I can't think of what
Okay.
it would be.
So did you have to MC a foam party or anything?
Yeah, I did it all.
Oh,
Everything from the
okay.
big club to foam to the announcing the show in English, Spanish, and French to the next day. I did it all.
From Turks, I see you go to Punta Cana, correct? 2017, 2018.
Yeah. So I only did a few months in Turks
Okay.
and then I ended up in Punta Cana.
And so back to the family village. I hear Punta Cana is much bigger now from when I was there. It's
Yeah, Punta Cana is amazing and it's a beast at the same time.
did they give you a buggy or anything or a bike to go around?
No,
Is
no, no,
no
no.
okay. So
I got two
so I guess
wheels and I rolled on
you
my
were
feet.
yeah, I guess you're in pretty good shape then
Yeah.
this year. Checking on all your sports. How big was your team there roughly? It was about 30 or more?
Yeah, around 30, 25 to 30, because I was also managing the lifeguards, even though they were GEs. But it was lifeguards, sailing, fitness, land sports, and tennis, and the golf. I think the team, it never really was full, but should have had somewhere between 25 and 30.
And does being seasick apply to windsurfing? Like if I put you on a windsurf board, would you get seasick?
I mean, thankfully windsurfing was going away at that point, but I've
Oh
gotten
yeah.
better at it. I think it's more, there was an instance where we had a Aziz was the chief of village and he'd organized a day, a surprise day to take all the managers on a team building. And one of it was to go whale watching, which near Punta Cana, I forget the name of it. It's like or it's La Romana. It's like 45 minutes an hour away. And there's a passage between the ocean where the whales will go through. But the day we went, it was so choppy that I held on for dear life because the assistant CDV was making fun of me. And I was like, I'm not gonna feed the fish. I'm not gonna throw up. But an hour and a half in, I lost that battle.
Hey, it happens, man. It happens.
I wasn't the only one. I wasn't the
No,
first one, and
no.
I wasn't the last one on that trip to lose my lunch.
When I was snorkel geo, I famously took two very, very pregnant women, and it was choppy. It was winter in the Bahamas. I said, "You're pregnant. It's rough. We can handle it. Get out of the way." And sure enough, within 10 minutes, one on each side of the bow, yakking their guts out. Yeah. So it happens, right? I mean,
Exactly.
it happened. I'm lucky. I never got seasick, but I know it's not pleasant. So if you, and it's a chief of service outing, so you can't really say I'm going to stay on land, right?
Exactly. It's one of those things where there's a reason that I'm not Club Med 2 looks amazing, but it looks amazing for other people.
Yeah, yeah. All right, and then after Punta, I see you head back to Sandpiper with Kareem.
Yeah, so I went so after a year in Punta Cana, ended up getting a promotion to sports and entertainment manager in Sandpiper with Kareem. So he had enough confidence that I hadn't burned the village down the last time I was there that he's brought me back and was really grateful for the opportunity to do sports and entertainment, but it definitely was a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say because I was only a chief of sports, I can't imagine doing another big job. What's it like doing two big jobs?
It's too much. I would say honestly, it's too
Okay, sounds like it.
much. Especially for me as someone who really liked to be involved and wanted to be everywhere and make sure I was giving attention to all of my team, I was not able to do that effectively. And my team let me know that. And so it was a good learning experience from those underneath me to be like, Adam, like when you talk to me, I can tell your brain's going in 10 different directions.
Well, yeah. I mean, come on, right? I don't know how that's a thing. I mean, I know people do it, but I'm always curious, like how do you do that? You know?
Yeah, it's a good development opportunity, but you have to have the right people in place underneath
Yeah.
to make it happen. And so it's a challenge, but I feel like I had another great experience. It wasn't a bad season at all. And so it was a time that went back, had a lot more responsibility, even had my first opportunities to be interim CDV. And so even though I mean, Sandpiper can get slow at times, but that was an amazing opportunity that I really appreciated to be like, hey, like you're in charge.
When you throw parties for these teams, like do you throw them separately or do you mix the sports and and entertainment
That's a
things?
great question
Yeah.
because the sports is easy because the thing that's challenging is animation is at night. So it's like there's always somebody that's left out because for animation, there has to be someone DJing and someone to close down the bar. And some nights it closes, you can't always prepare for everything to finish when you want it to finish. Whereas in sports, once the show's done, you can take everybody and go. So I can't remember if we did a joint one or not. We definitely didn't have everybody, but I feel like with entertainment, we did a breakfast once or twice, and sports, we went out at night.
Okay. Yeah, and you're perfectly located with Sandpiper because you have
Sandpiper's awesome for
a
that.
life outside the club, right?
Exactly.
And so how do you get to Marrakesh? You leave the zone and go to Morocco, right? 2019.
Yeah, so that I'd really been pushing that, hey, I've told you from the beginning I want to travel. My French is at a really good level. I've had all these experiences in the zone. I want to get out. And there's so many opportunities. Like whether it's going to Mauritius, whether it's going to Europe. It's like I really want to experience another zone. And at this point, I was in the POT CDV or the potential CDV program. And so part of that is, hey, you need to have experiences in other zones. And so Aziz, who had been my chef de village in Punta Cana, was going to Marrakesh. So he brought me as his entertainment manager.
Any culture shock when you get there?
Woo! Big learning experience.
Okay. Right. What was it like?
Well, I would not, my season in Marrakesh was maybe the most challenging season I had for a number of reasons, but it was also it's one that I wouldn't trade for anything. It's something I talk about a lot. The culture shock to your question is just the communication style, and especially being a manager of an entertainment team, which animation, I feel managing an animation team was the hardest role I had in Club Med because you have a small team of people that know more than you. Generally, if you haven't been like a DJ or a sound engineer, a light tech, there are people that know more than you and you have to trust them. And you're also quasi responsible for what other services are doing without being able to tell them what to do. So the communication with different teams and the resort. I also arrived in Marrakesh during Ramadan. So it's May, and I've never been in a predominantly Muslim country during Ramadan. And so seeing that at 6:30 during aperitif hour, all of a sudden the bar staff goes for an hour and you have all the other GOs just having to fill in. There was a lot of learning, but I mean, that's part of the amazing experience of having been a GO is getting those opportunities because I never could have dreamed about having another experience like that without my time at Club Med.
And also, I guess during Ramadan, is it sundown to sunset? Like you can't
Yeah,
eat
so
or
Ramadan is from sunrise to sunset. So it was the Muslim
so
staff, mostly the local Moroccans, would get up before dawn, which was like 5, 6 a.m., have a small breakfast, water, and then they couldn't eat or drink throughout the day. And it's
yes.
at some points, it's like 30 something degrees Celsius or 80, 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And you have sports GOs that aren't eating or drinking. You have staff that's in the sun all day. And I was amazed at the way they were able to push through, do an amazing job, be as welcoming, kind, friendly as they were with no sustenance in them because I know when I'm hungry or thirsty, I'm miserable.
Okay, so is there lunch? And if so, so the non-Muslim guests could eat lunch
Yeah,
if
yeah,
chose
it was
to?
the resort ran normally. The
Okay.
resort, it was something where if you didn't know it was happening or you didn't know about it, you wouldn't even realize it. But it was just something for the staff
Okay, got
that
it.
the staff, if they were working like the bar and the evening shift, they would take when sundown hit and it was time to break their fast, they would go break their fast and come back.
Okay, got it. And was this a for the summer or this was like a 6 month contract that you were
Yeah, it
there?
was a 6-month contract. So I arrived in
Okay.
May and I left in November or end of October.
And what happens after that? Like, are you requested to go to Punta Cana in 2019,
So
2020?
I had been, yeah, so I got promoted to assistant CDV. And so they were then sending me to Punta Cana for that assignment.
Now you're with Pierre-Jean Montagnier, is that right?
Pierre Jean Montagnier, yeah, the nicest, kindest guy you'll ever meet.
Okay. Where was he from?
France.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So you
near
can
Spain.
practice your French some more.
Yeah, well, it was funny because he wanted to always speak in English. But even in Marrakesh, it was 90 something% French. And so I came back and my friends joked with me because I was living in French. So I
Yes.
came back and my friends in the US were like, Adam, why do you have a French accent when you talk in English?
Yes.
Like, I don't know, I've been around the French people and they So
Well, here's the big question. While you were there, did you have a dream? Well, and you were dreaming that you were
I
talking
did.
French.
I did. Towards
Yes.
the end, I was
Great.
starting to do French.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, and so I was like, man, do I need to wake up with like a Ricard next to my bed or something, or
Oh,
what's going
speaking
on?
of,
But
did you acquire the taste for that? I never
oh,
did.
I love Ricard. I have a bottle.
What?
I thought
Really?
about even for this conversation, Greg, of just
Yes.
having a glass next to me, just for old time's sake, because I always have a bottle in my apartment.
Okay, so you like it. All right.
Oh man. I
Okay.
tried the first time the story that I where I tried it for the first time is kind of funny because it was my first week in Sandpiper. I was so excited. I'm walking up to aperitif, this green-eyed Geo who's like, "Oh, I get to do apéro and all this and that." And I'd been learning French with Rosetta Stone, but I obviously needed to practice actually speaking with real people and not my computer. And so I get to aperitif and I see there's a French family out there because 90% of Sandpiper doesn't do aperitif. And so I get there and the gentleman is drinking Ricard, but I don't know what it is. So I ask him and he goes, "It's a Ricard." And I go, "It's a who?" He goes, "Ricard, try it." I tried it and honestly, I was like, about it. But I was like, I want to be more Club Med. I want to be more French. So this is now my drink. And then I just drank it more and I loved it. So now even here to this day, I still drink it all the time. And I've told my fiance that at our wedding next year there needs to be a Ricard. That's my only ask.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like an easy ask, right? I mean,
I hope, I hope.
no bachelor party for you. I just want Ricard. Okay,
No, well,
done.
yeah, there can be
Okay.
both. There can be
Okay.
both. Don't sell me short here, Greg.
Okay, sorry. Is the person you're marrying an ex-geo as well, or no?
No, she is
Oh,
not. But
okay.
we went together with a whole group of friends to Turks last summer.
Hmm.
And then in October of 2023, we went, us and our families went. And so she totally has the Club Med bug now. She
Okay, so
randomly
she
will
she gets it now, right?
totally, she'll randomly go, she'll just be sitting around. She'll go, "Ale, Ale, Ale, turquoise, Ale." I'm like, yes, you get it. And once we came back, she's like, we were there, and she's like, "I totally get all your stories now, and I get why you do certain things and how you act." She's like, "It all makes sense."
Another piece of the puzzle falls into place, right? Okay.
Exactly.
All right. So this season of yours in Punta Cana, it looks like, judging by 2020, it looks like COVID's about to rear its ugly head, right? Am I right about this?
Yeah, that's what ended my stint in Punta Cana and ultimately my Club Med journey was it was a like a week time span from or even 10 days where it was no, we're not getting COVID here to oh we'll manage it to all right, we have to make some changes to oh my God, Punta Cana is now not accepting European flights in 48 hours, and we have to get the 700 Europeans out of the resort. To then 2 days later, them saying the same thing for North Americans. So that was the ultimate experience in crisis management, where I think I slept maybe 10 hours in a total of 5 days.
Yeah. And Adam, how were you getting your news? Like, did you guys have TVs? Like, how was it coming
Yeah,
to
so
you?
there were TVs, and there was the thing is at this point is everyone has their phones. It's something where the GOs have their phone, GMs have their phone, and everyone's seeing social media and the news. But at first, then we first got the information. We saw a press conference from the Dominican president, who it was very surprising. It was at the end of it was like a Saturday evening. So we just done the big rush of arrivals and departures. And the Dominican president goes, "We are closing the borders to all Europeans in 48 hours." And so within that time, me and Pierre Jean were like, holy smokes, what do we do? So he had to organize we have to call France, we have to call Miami. And then from there, it was there was like every other day, a 3 a.m. call with the office in France, a 6 a.m. call with Miami, and then we would have to do an 11 or noon meeting with everybody, including GMs in the village to let them know what was happening, what we were doing. And in between those hours, it was, okay, what do we do if we can have 10% staff, 20% staff? How do we get people out? What activities do we keep? What can't we keep? What has to stay? What has to go? And all that type of planning.
Yeah, this actually sounds worse than when a hurricane is coming,
Oh yeah.
so
I mean,
I can't imagine like what I would have done if I was there for
I
COVID.
I'd had the experience. I think there was 3 hurricanes in my 4.5 years of Club Med, and none were so bad. Like we didn't get hit with like when Turks got hit with that awful hurricane in 2017, where like destroyed the village. So, but it was just way more because things were changing every single day.
And ultimately, are you the last one to go home, or one of the last GOs to go
No, so
home?
I ended up there were people that ended up getting stuck there for like 6 to 8 months.
What?
Yeah, so some of the Turkish staff, some of there's Mauritian, her and I were really good friends and stayed in touch. Mitsa, that we were talking, she was there for like 8 months because she couldn't get a visa to get home. Yeah, she's
Wow.
from Madagascar, and some of the other Mauritians were stuck. But for me, they sent me to Sandpiper because Sandpiper was still open because Florida had different thoughts and rules in terms of COVID. And so they sent me to Florida. I ended up being there 5 days before it eventually shut down too.
Okay. And did you have to quarantine when you got home?
Yeah, I mean my mom was begging me to not go to Sandpiper, to just call it. It was a I was going back and forth with the office on it was the Wednesday and I ended up leaving on a Friday. But of like my mom was like, I have a flight for you. Just come home. I don't want you to take a chance. But eventually they sent me there, and at that point I had quarantined at home for like 3 days. There weren't really strict quarantine rules in the US. So it was just something where I made sure I avoided my parents for a few days, and then once I was making sure I felt all right, just treated it kind of like everyone else and stayed at home.
Wow, that's some story.
It was an experience, that's for
Yeah.
sure. I slept for like a month straight after that.
Nice. All right. And in your time at Club Ed, were there any people that you worked with that you enjoyed working with? Anyone that made an impression on you?
Man, there's too many to count, too many to name. I'll start by saying when you say that, I think that is the most magical part about Club Med is whether you stay in touch with everybody, whether you stay in touch with 2 or 3 people, all of the different people that come and go and that you get to experience these different challenges, special moments, everyday things with, it's truly special. Because you're meeting people, it's such a crossroads of people that have had such amazing and unique life experiences that you get to share together, you're living together and you're doing something so different than maybe the quote unquote traditional 9 to 5 job, that you really have this shared bond and connection. So if I'm to think about a few people, Sarah Pastor's one, I mentioned Jamel, Anthony. Another one is Lenny Cormier. He's French. We worked together in Punta Cana and in Morocco. So we had a lot of late night conversations. But I mean, shoot, again, I don't have enough time to name everybody, but and I could go through every single season and still talk about all the different people that I've worked with, and I'm so grateful for each and every one that has had an impact in a positive way on me.
Excellent. Good answer. And you mentioned earlier, Adam, that you went to Turks with your fiance. So, usually I ask people, is there anything you miss about Club Ed, even though you're still going as a GM? But if you think back to your time as a GO, like obviously, being a family and the parties. So, did you ever have any great GO parties? And if so, do you miss the parties?
I definitely, definitely the Geo parties. I can think of some really, really great ones, especially in Sandpiper. I can think of, Ooh, we had some fun ones in 20, what was that, 2019, 2018 or 2019. We had a great one in Morocco in 2019. My birthday one year in 2017 was, I mean, that became a geo party. Those are the moments you miss, and it's like I can still remember some of those, the faces and the joy, and maybe how I didn't feel so great the next day, but just seeing the people that you got to spend those times with, I definitely miss those close connections. And also, I think I miss most like the evenings. So like aperitif and even just doing crazy signs in the show. Those are the things that when I think about my time at Club Med and when I was there as a guest, I was like, ooh, I missed this. This was awesome.
So since you actually miss crazy signs, so I'm guessing you're the type of guy like when you're driving your car or in the grocery store and that song comes on that you used to dance to, you probably have to restrain yourself from dancing side to side and clapping, right? Like in the
Oh,
produce aisle.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. Or maybe you do go with it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not that bold, not anymore.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It depends though. It depends how late at night we're talking. But there are times where I will, if I'm out and about and I'm with friends, yeah, I will 100% do Danza Kuduro. Le Sunlight de Tropique has still never come on at a bar, but I'm holding hope
nor
that
nor
day
nor
will
will it.
come.
Nor will it, unless you request it and give the DJ $100. I don't know.
I mean, I don't put it past me. Don't give me
Okay.
ideas.
Well, I don't know. You say you're not bold. I would say you're bold because I just like to get into this a bit because, I work at Concordia University in Montreal. So I'm wondering how hard is it to go back to school and, you're in completion of your master's. So what possessed you to start studying again after this long break in between, semesters?
Yeah. So when I finished Club Med in 2020 and decided that I wasn't going to continue, I pivoted into sales and I found very quickly that I wanted something with more of a human or people focus because of all the time I spent at Club Med. And I mean, that is human and people focused to its core. And so I said, so when starting to do research on, because I have a business degree, it was starting to make sense. Okay, some sort of graduate degree. At first, I was thinking MBA, but then I thankfully through my network, I was able to figure out that a master's that was focused on learning, organizational development, change management was more the speed that I wanted to go because it was going to enable me to get into more of that people focused work within the business world.
And does near completing a master's compel you to do a PhD next?
Oh God, no.
Can we call you
Oh
Dr.
God.
Reinhart soon or no?
Oh
Okay.
please. That's my
Okay.
father. That's my dad. My dad's a
Okay.
doctor. And I said,
Oh,
No,
okay.
that absolute. I'm doing my research paper right now. I'll finish in December and I'm just like, when can I be done?
So this is
So,
so do you have the choice between course space and thesis space and you chose which one?
no, so part of the last, so it's courses and then the last three courses are this major capstone research project where it's not quite a thesis. It's like a thesis light, I think, where I'm still reading more peer-reviewed articles than anyone should in their lifetime. I'm interviewing people, I'm running a survey, and then I'm compiling my findings into essentially a summary and a report and a presentation that's more in a like a lens for how could someone that's in the field use it versus this is going to end up in an academic journal.
Okay. Well, I'd like to congratulate you for getting your master's. It's
Thank
very
you.
very impressive. I know it can't be easy. Like I said, I'm a student. Went back as a student, and it's pretty rough. When your friends are going out Saturday night, you got to study, right?
That there was definitely some nights and some weekends because my program is in the evenings, and so a lot of work on the weekends. There was definitely some times where I was like, gosh, I'd much rather be out playing golf or playing tennis or really having to make choices that I didn't want to have to make about either going out and having fun or playing golf and tennis, but I couldn't do both because I couldn't be hungover or too tired to do my grad school work. And I was like, man, I would kill to be able to do some of the things we did when I was younger in my younger Club Med years and be able to still wake up chipper as ever at 7 in the morning.
That's right. Well, speaking of your Club Ed years, do you have time for some rapid fire Club Ed questions?
Let's do it.
All right. Did you ever did you have a favorite dumb question that you were asked?
Favorite dumb question. Did you vote for Donald Trump?
No. Okay, so you didn't get like when's it gonna stop raining? You got a political question. Okay.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I got
Okay.
those too, but I think the
Yeah.
Donald Trump one is like, how do you want me to answer this? This is just a
And
no-win
were you in
situation for
Florida,
everybody.
Florida when you were being asked this?
No, it was more the French people. The
Oh,
French.
okay. That's right.
They were
Yes.
always so curious about it. And I was like, I really don't want to talk to you about this right now.
Yeah,
Can we just...
that's true. That's true. Yes, I had a similar yeah, situation. Yes. Did you now in your time were there still animation geo meaning that was there an animator or was it more of a
No,
team thing? So
it was a
okay, so
team thing. And you
okay,
really relied on a lot of sports geos, the animation manager, sports manager. We were the ones who had to carry that load.
okay. Did you meet any celebrities or athletes or actors, singers, any at all?
Yes.
You did.
Yes.
Who? Who?
One was a, most people won't know him. His name's Max Mirny. He was a number one ranked tennis player from Bulgaria. There was the goalie of the French national water polo team, whose name I already forget, which stinks.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Um,
I don't think many people have that in their pocket. No, I'm thinking you're
yeah,
forgiven if you forget
exactly.
that. But yeah, they're but like most water polo players, you probably wouldn't want to mess with them, especially the goalie. Okay,
Yeah.
those
I
guys are in
definitely
shape.
meant, I'm trying to, now it's killing me because there were definitely some other ones, more French stars.
Yeah, and when you don't know who they are, it's just like meeting a regular person, right?
Right. I can't.
Yeah.
There was one time when if you know, John McEnroe and his family were going to come and they canceled last minute.
Oh no, really? Oh, that's too bad.
Um, yeah, there was someone. Oh,
That's
this is gonna
okay.
kill me. I'm
That's
gonna think
okay.
about this afterwards, and it's gonna just kill me.
All right. Now, did you find that you had a magical season, meaning that was there one season for you that stood out? Like, could you put the word magic on it, or you just don't use that word? They're all special to you in different ways. But I was just curious.
I think both. I think they're all special, and I wouldn't say that I had a bad season. I think the most magical was either my last season or my second season in Sandpiper. So my winter, my first season as sports manager in winter of 2017.
Okay. Do you have a recurring dream? So now that you're still working at Club Med, or do you not dream at all about this?
About going back?
Yeah, that you're when you dream, like I dream that I'm still working there and it's an entire day. Like this dream will not leave me for some reason. Like it's since
I
2005. It
dream
just
I dream sometimes that I'm a geo.
okay, you do.
Or like
Okay.
geo, like people from my past will be there and I'm still a geo, but I wouldn't say it's a recurring dream.
Okay. Okay. But it does happen occasionally.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Adam, we're coming near the end of our time here. Just a question. I forgot to ask you about my rapid fire question. Now that you're civilian, do you miss dress codes at all?
Greg, if I had the chance to wear white jeans as regularly as I did in my time, man, I would be a happy camper. It is. I think
Really?
that's what I'm most sad about. I love
Okay.
some of the dress codes, but all white and just having an excuse to wear white jeans multiple times a week is something that I didn't realize I'd miss as much as I do.
Were these white Levi's jeans
I had a
specifically?
mix. I
Or
had
okay.
some, I think the best ones that I had were I had a pair from Calvin Klein that I just wore into the ground they weren't jeans, they were like white pants. And maybe I thought they looked cooler than they actually did. Like, who knows? I could have looked like ABBA out there, but I just wore them and I had my white Lacoste shoes and I just felt so French. And I was just so happy when I wear them.
And did you have a pair of white jorts as well?
I mean, I had the white khaki shorts
Okay,
for everyday
but no
dress
jorts.
code,
No,
but
no.
I wouldn't say I had jorts.
Okay. And again, looking at your village timeline here, you seem to have followed a path, and I'm probably going to guess correctly that you don't have any regrets whatsoever about applying to Club Med, correct?
I don't have any regrets about applying. No, definitely some regrets about things that if I could go back and do again a little bit differently, I would.
Okay, but you have the experience, and Did it help you at all in school or anything, or
Oh
any
my
other
gosh,
later jobs or anything?
oh my gosh, it's been so helpful. Every single interview that I have, three-quarters of it, I talk about things that have happened at Club Med, both from a management perspective and a customer facing perspective. It's helped me so much. And then also just the way I interact with different people and of different cultures, and I'm able to communicate effectively, understand people. It's ingrained some skills in me. Or people talk about soft skills in the business world, but just communication, customer service, able to handle stress, juggle multiple things, and move at a fast pace that I take for granted now, but others recognize, they're like, wow, it's amazing that you can do that, or you've had this wealth of experience in such a short amount of time. And it's very much thanks to my time at Club Med and all the people that impacted me so positively.
Yeah, Club Med XGOs, especially like chief of sports or entertainment managers or who do both. We have the best answers. Like when I was in job interviews, tell me about a hardship you encountered in a former job and how'd you overcome it. And I'm like, how much time do you have? And then their mouths drop. Like when you have to. Well, we
Yeah.
just sat 600 people at the pool and a hurricane's coming in. What do you do? I mean, you have to, it uses that creative part of your brain, like think fast, problem solving, which I always like. So for any, I was never afraid of that question in a job interview after Club Med.
I mean, I've been surprised at how many people are impressed that I said I got up and danced on stage or would be on a microphone. The fact that I just kind of will say it and they're like, wow, that's so impressive. I'm like, well, I mean, you never even saw me dance. Like, are you sure you're impressed? Did you see some of the costumes I wore? Like,
So were you a front row guy or were you back row curtain near the smoke machine guy like me? Where were you exactly on stage?
I'm the person that was wanted to be front center and I was willing to do and wear pretty much anything, which, I mean, you can take that for what it's worth.
Okay, got it. So you were like, no problem, Adam will do it. Like,
100%. Like the
okay.
comedy skits, the cross dress, anything silly and things like that. I love to do it.
Excellent. Excellent. Sounds like you had a great time.
I had again an unbelievable experience. Wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well, I really do want to thank you, Adam, for taking the time, sitting down with me and sharing your story so everyone could hear it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Greg. I really appreciate the conversation.
Would you like to take us out and thank our listeners and your
Yeah,
friends?
thanks everybody. Thank you everybody for listening. Yeah, I mean, shoot, I need the mic. I need to know what's the next activity,
how
you
would you
know?
how would you take us out on the mic if I were to give it
I
to
would
you?
say thanks everybody.
Give you give you
Now we are going into the party with DJ Greggy Greg here, gonna turn it away, and then probably you'd put on something like ABBA or Rasputin or
Oh my God!
Brian
How'd you know?
May.
Who told you I love ABBA?
ABBA
I
was the best.
love ABBA. Oh my God!
Oh, see, so we'll send you out to Gimme Gimme.
Okay, I was more Waterloo, but okay, I like that song too.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, that works too.
Well, everyone, that was the one, the only Adam Reinhart, and we'll see you all next week with another new installment. Thanks so much again, Adam. Say bye.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, everybody.